Dean Ambrose. I'm pretty sure you guys want to see him covered on Bell to Bell, so let's just do it. Ambrose grew up in a rundown section of Cincinnati, Ohio. It was the rough side of town, as Dean got into fights while living there, and would even have to sell drugs in order to avoid getting beaten half to death. Yeah, so saying life was tough is a big understatement, but that's where wrestling comes in. Dean used the action inside the squared circle as an escape, and watched whatever he could get his hands on. The wrestler that Ambrose looked up to the most became Bret Hart, because despite being beaten down, he would always get back up, which the unlunatic fringe found relatable to his own life. Once he was a teenager, Dean Ambrose knew he wanted to become more than just a spectator. His pursuit of becoming a wrestler led him to a veteran talent named Les Thatcher. Thatcher ended up sending Ambrose away, because he was an adult at the time. All hope was not lost for Dean though, as a wrestler named Cody Hawk took him under his wing. Bird puns. Anyways, Ambrose began as a concession stand worker at wrestling events, but eventually was able to start getting trained. Dean would finally step inside the ring in 2004, performing for Heartland Wrestling Association. For the next several years, the future Shield member wrestled a little everywhere, including 3 matches in WWE before he got signed. Speaking of which, Dean Ambrose got signed in 2011. He started in Florida Championship Wrestling, FCW, which was the precursor to NXT. After spending a little over a year and a half in FCW, Ambrose would make his official WWE debut at the 2012 Survivor Series. During the Triple Threat WWE Championship match, Ambrose, along with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, stormed into the ring. They beat down Ryback and conclude their attack by powerbombing the big guy through the announcer's table. Later on, it was revealed that the reason for Ambrose, Rollins, and Reigns' interference was to fight against injustices in WWE. Naturally, Dean and his friends continued to cause chaos during matches, which included beating down Kane and Daniel Bryan. This, along with their attacks on Ryback, led to the Shield's, and in turn, Dean Ambrose's, first WWE match. Ambrose made his in-ring debut at the 2012 Tables, Ladders, and Chairs pay-per-view. Along with his fellow Shield members, Dean Ambrose faced Ryback and Team Hell No in a TLC match. The Shield's iconic crowd entrance was cut short when their opponents ran out of the ring to start the fight. Ryback directed his attention to Dean Ambrose, and the two continued to brawl on the outside. They eventually made it to the ring, where Dean was able to take control, until Ryback knocked him down with some chops. While the lunatic fringe was able to get some offense in, the power of Ryback was too much. Luckily for Ambrose, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns were able to get into the ring and outpowered the man the crowd was calling Goldberg. Dean Ambrose then drop-kicked Ryback out of the ring, only to be greeted by Daniel Bryan. Like before, Dean's allies helped him take back control of the match. After recovering, Ryback got back on his feet and was able to get the upper hand on the Shield. Using a ladder, he started squashing Dean as well as Seth, but fortunately for them, Roman Reigns made the save. After recouping on the outside and getting some payback on Ryback, Ambrose would take out Daniel Bryan by slamming him into the ring post. As Kane was beating the crud out of Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, the lunatic fringe came to their aid with the dirty deeds. There was no time to rest, as Ryback came charging into the ring after laying Roman Reigns out. With the help of Rollins, Dean was able to subdue the Human Wrecking Ball. The Shield's control over Ryback ended when the big guy slammed both Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose's faces into the canvas. Dean almost lost his first WWE match, as Ryback was getting ready to set him and Seth up for a shell shock, but Roman Reigns prevented that from happening. The Hounds of Justice then started putting the match type to use, by hitting Ryback with a chair, a ladder, and then powerbombing him through a table. The celebration was cut short when Daniel Bryan literally crashed the party, but Ambrose and his teammates recovered quickly. King came to the rescue of his tag partner, but the Shield's numbers were too much. Ambrose and Rollins threw Bryan back into the ring and continued to abuse him with chairs. The two future Raw Tag Team Champions decided to take things up a notch and set up a table on top of the ropes. They brought Daniel Bryan up with them and performed a devastating superplex. The match was almost won, but Kane broke up the Shield's pinfall. Dean and Seth gave the Big Red Machine the same treatment they showed his tag team partner, including a trip to the top of the table. This time, however, Kane was able to fight back and hit Dean Ambrose with a massive clothesline. After catching his breath, Ambrose broke up a pinfall attempt by Kane and continued to beat down on him. The attitude of Dean was rewarded with a choke slam through a chair and a near pinfall, but Roman Reigns once again made the save. The Big Dog and the Architect took care of the masked demon on the outside, while unbeknownst to them, Dean Ambrose was having his oxygen cut off by Daniel Bryan. The Flying Goat gave the Shield some trouble, but they put an end to it with a curb stomp onto a steel chair. Just as Dean was covering Bryan, Ryback butted in and pulled him to the outside. The man currently known as Jon Moxley wouldn't be by himself for too long, as Seth Rollins dropped in to join him. Dean tried to help out his teammates, but all he ended up getting was a meat-hook clothesline and a shell shock. Like many other close calls, Ambrose's partners came to his rescue. By the time Dean was ready to fight again, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Ryback were brawling near the entranceway. The lunatic fringe straight up just chucked a chair at Ryback to knock him down. The trio beat Ryback with an assortment of weapons before laying him on top of a table. Reigns and Ambrose started to head back to the ring, while Seth Rollins got ready to finish off Ryback for good. Even though Seth Rollins was the one who ended up going through the tables, it didn't matter. Dean Ambrose, along with Roman, grabbed Daniel Bryan and sent him crashing through a table in the ring, and the match was over. With a hard-fought battle won, Dean celebrated with his Shield brothers and left the building. After their first victory, the Shield continued to compete against top WWE stars, such as Sheamus, John Cena, Randy Orton, and The Undertaker, and remained undefeated for several months. Dean's singles career would pick up at Extreme Rules 2013, where he defeated Kofi Kingston to become the United States Champion. He'd defend the title against the likes of Dolph Ziggler, Big E, and Rob Van Dam, and would always manage to retain the championship. Tension would begin to build amongst the Shield when Roman Reigns accidentally speared Dean at the 2013 TLC, as well as several other incidents that only added fuel to the fire. The Shield had its final rivalry when they began feuding with Evolution. Dean's team would be triumphant when the two sides clashed at Extreme Rules, but it resulted in the Lunatic Fringe being forced to defend his US Championship the following night, and losing. After one final battle against Evolution at Payback, which the Shield also won, the trio would implode when Seth Rollins betrayed Dean and Roman. With his former ally now turned enemy, Ambrose focused all his energy on taking Rollins down. They wrestled several times, with Seth almost always picking up the win, usually with some assistance or by cheating. After wrapping up his feud with the Beast Slayer, Ambrose got into a rivalry with Bray Wyatt. Dean really started to hit a slump in his career, as he lost all the matches he had with the Eater of Worlds too. It wasn't until Extreme Rules 2015 that Ambrose would finally get a pay-per-view victory, roughly 11 months since his last pay-per-view win at Payback 2014. During the course of 2015, Dean Ambrose would get close to winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, but always came up short. He did end the year with a title victory though, when he defeated Kevin Owens at TLC for the Intercontinental belt. He lost the championship in early 2016, but things picked up in a big way. At that year's Money in the Bank, Dean would not only win the briefcase, but also cash it in and won the WWE Championship, all in the same night. Shortly after this accomplishment, Ambrose would get drafted to the SmackDown Live brand and took the title with him. He would have a few more successful title defenses, until losing it to AJ Styles. While he wasn't able to regain the belt, he did find himself the new championship to wear when he defeated The Miz on the first SmackDown of 2017. Things went smoothly for a while, with a successful title defense at WrestleMania, and even taking the belt with him to Raw when he was drafted during the Superstar Shakeup. Dean Ambrose's championship reign finally came to an end at Extreme Rules, when he lost the title back to The Miz. It wasn't long before the Lunatic Fringe would have another championship to call his own, when he reunited with Seth Rollins, and the two won the Raw Tag Team titles. A little while after that, and Roman Reigns also joined the team, officially bringing the Shield back together. They were supposed to take on Kane, Braun Strowman, Sheamus, Cesaro, and The Miz at TLC in a handicap match, but due to an illness concern, Reigns was taken out and replaced with Kurt Angle. The unexpected team-up worked out, as Dean's team prevailed. Unfortunately, things took a bad turn, as Ambrose and Rollins failed in a title defense, and the year ended with Dean injuring his right arm. It wouldn't be until August of 2018 that Dean Ambrose would be back in the WWE. Once he made his return, Dean immediately got back with his Shield buddies, coming to the aid of both Rollins and Reigns. The three wrestlers would team up together to wrestle and defeat Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, and Braun Strowman at Super Showdown. Shortly after that, the Shield would once again dissolve when Roman Reigns announced that he would take some time away from the ring to attend to his real-life leukemia. That same night, Dean and Seth would win the Raw Tag Team Championship, but in a twist, Ambrose attacked his tag team partner after the victory. Of course, it wasn't long before they lost the titles, as Ambrose continued to attack and taunt his former Shield member. They squared off at TLC for Seth Rollins' Intercontinental Championship, which he had won at SummerSlam. Ambrose walked out the winner and a 3-time IC champion. It was another short title run, however, as he was unable to defeat Bobby Lashley at the start of 2019. After a few other short-lived feuds, including a very brief one with Nia Jax, Dean Ambrose finally reunited with his Shield teammates in March. This led to a match at Fastlane against Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, and Baron Corbin, which the Shield won. Dean would make his last Raw appearance on April 8, 2019. He was supposed to have his last singles match against Bobby Lashley, but when the Destroyer insulted Dean's wife, Renee Young, the Lunatic Fringe went ballistic and started beating down Lashley. The night ultimately ended with Ambrose getting chokeslammed through the announcer's table. Luckily, this wasn't how Dean would leave WWE, as he would have his last match about 2 weeks later on April 21st. To send Ambrose on his way, WWE put together a special event titled The Shield's Final Chapter. Dean Ambrose, alongside Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, had a rematch with their Fastlane opponents, Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, and Bobby Lashley. The Shield's adversaries got onto the mic to say that the Shield is definitely not going to win. Sure, guys. To be fair, Baron Corbin does bring up the fact that he beat Kurt Angle in his last match 2 weeks earlier, so there's some credibility. Finally, Ambrose, Rollins, and Reigns came out. Complete with their Shield attire, theme music, and iconic entrance, they head for the ring. Seth Rollins got the match started for the team, as Baron Corbin did the same for his side. Things went slowly, but as soon as Dean Ambrose got the tag, they picked up. The current AEW wrestler whipped Corbin all around the ring until a lone wolf got out and brought in Bobby Lashley. It made little difference, as Dean was on a roll and before long tagged Rollins back in, who was immediately tagged out by Roman Reigns. After spending a short time in the ring, the big dog tagged the Lunatic Fringe back into the contest. Without missing a beat, Ambrose bounced around the ring and took the fight to the outside by hitting the Chosen One with a suicide dive. The tides changed when Lashley and Corbin got a few cheap shots in while the ref's back was turned. With the match now in McIntyre's control, he tagged out and got a fresh Bobby Lashley in to hammer away on Dean. After only spending about a minute as the legal man, the Almighty tagged out and brought Baron Corbin back in. With fight still in him, Dean Ambrose took Corbin down to the mat and locked in the figure 4. The Lone Wolf's teammates got him out by distracting the referee and raking Dean's eyes. McIntyre then got tagged in, which created an open for Ambrose after he countered a suplex from the Scottish Psychopath. It wasn't enough to take in either Reigns or Rollins though, as the Shield's enemies made sure there was some space between Dean and his teammates. The three villains of the match once again threw Dean to the outside and beat him down while the referee was distracted. This time, Roman Reigns marched over with a chair in hand, which obviously caused Dean's attackers to flee. Once things calmed down, Drew McIntyre was back in the ring with Dean Ambrose. With enough time to build some energy, Ambrose hit a neckbreaker and tagged a fully charged Seth Rollins back into the match. The Kingslayer, as well as Roman Reigns, both hit an onslaught of moves and helped get the match back on the Shield side. The 2016 Money in the Bank winner finally got the tag and entered into the ring with an elbow drop. Unfortunately, Lashley and McIntyre and Corbin quickly started to regain their dominance, but with some help from Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose was back in control. Once the ring had been cleared, Dean planted the legal man, Baron Corbin, with one final dirty deeds. The match officially came to a close when all three members of the Shield got together and hit the triple powerbomb. Post-match, Ambrose got on the mic and talked about never giving up, and used Seth and Roman as examples. It was a really heartfelt way to end the event, and a great way to say goodbye to Dean Ambrose. So after finishing up an 8-year career in the WWE, what was next for Dean Ambrose? Well, in addition to wrestling in New Japan and on the independent scene, Ambrose debuted in All Elite Wrestling at the Double or Nothing event. He's been performing under the name Jon Moxley, which is what he was called before signing with WWE. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to Ambrose and how he'll do in AEW. Another question is if he'll ever return to WWE. Dean said in interviews that while he's thankful for the time he spent in the company, he was creatively frustrated, so it seems like another WWE run is unlikely. While I think the majority of fans did enjoy his time in World Wrestling Entertainment, I think we're all excited to see what new turns Jon Moxley's career takes. In the comments, let me know who you want to see covered on Bell to Bell. If you're in the mood for some more content, check out the videos to the right. With that, I'm Zach from Tap Out Corner, and that was Bell to Bell.